Did you know that Google personalizes many searches by city and Also Asked is the only tool to access live People Also Asked data at city level? Try for free at alsoasked.com.
Tired of SEO guesswork? Quadra's AI agent goes deeper to uncover high-impact optimizations and completes hours of SEO in minutes. Get started now.
I was going to say that SEO with Fat Joe is as peaceful as this, but then the birds are all having fights.
Hi guys. Before we get started, how many people would say that they work for a sexy brand? Okay, a few hands, quite a shy crowd today. How many people would say that they work for an unsexy brand on the flip side? Okay, quite a lot of hands raised there. When it comes to sexy brands, there's often a lot of confusion about what that actually means. Often we think about the aesthetically pleasing brands, the ones that have really provocative brand architecture, the ones that have exciting campaigns. But actually, from my perspective, a sexy brand is a brand that has a really unique set of values, and therefore it has nothing to do with attraction and everything to do with uniqueness. The thing about sexy brands is that they have a unique set of intangible assets that are really hard to replicate in a short time frame, and that are really hard to replicate without a big budget or the use of incredible tools. And this means that every brand, whether they're a new brand or a more established brand, is on a journey to try to become a sexy brand. This can take several years, several decades, but fundamentally there's a clear opportunity for any brand to go from being unsexy to sexy and reap the rewards of doing so. So when it comes to sexy brands, they all have these 5 unique assets, and these are unique to them as a business, and these essentially mean that they're able to leverage various elements to achieve great success in marketing and beyond. So the first thing is high brand awareness. Typically around 80 to 90% of prompted awareness through a third party is what we're looking for here. Good market share. Typically, they will be the major player in a market or one of a handful of key players in the market, or even better, just a monopoly if you can achieve that. Next, they will be distinctive and they'll have a really clear tone of voice and have a really clear perspective on who they want to be in the market and how they want to position themselves accordingly. They'll have lots of resources. This can be physical resources in terms of people, tools, it could be a variety of products or services, it could be unique tech and patented technology, it could be anything that gives them an edge over their rivals. And lastly, there'll be goodwill. This is something that takes lots of time to build. It's something that is very challenging to build over time, but essentially it means that with everything they do, they're building that goodwill, they're building that positive brand association, and it ultimately means that they're going to go viral on LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok with whatever they do, because ultimately there's a mass amount of awareness and appreciation for them in the marketplace. It also means if they make a mistake, despite having all of these positives in their favor, people will be more forgiving and more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt. On the flip side, unsexy brands tend to have low brand awareness, and this could be because they're new or because there's been little investment in brand building activities. They may exist in a competitive environment, which is often seen as a negative because there's just more voices in the mix. Decision fatigue, and this is a really interesting one because it could be that the marketing team is overwhelmed because they have a million decisions to make every day, or they just struggle to know what to do in a marketplace that has multiple conflicting ideas and perspectives and opinions. Limited resources is linked to that. It just means that there's often fewer people, fewer opportunities, fewer ways to actually generate great results. And lastly, whilst they try to get to a place of goodwill and a strong reputation, the focus is on building community, and obviously that's highly important, but it's very time consuming. It takes time to do, it takes a lot of energy to do, and it requires consistently showing up for your customers on social media and in other places. So this seems to paint a really dire perspective for unsexy brands and unsexy marketers in the room, but I promise you that it is not the be-all and end-all. You can still achieve fantastic results with influencer marketing because you can win by using data and AI to make big problems like the ones I've just gone through seem really small and seem really manageable to actually overcome. So in the next 15 minutes, I'll be going through 3 key problems that unsexy brand marketers often face with influencer marketing. These can apply to influencer marketing or other areas of marketing, but fundamentally we're going to be going through 3 different scenarios to showcase how data and AI can alleviate those challenges. So the first one is a competitive environment. This is always a double-edged sword. It's something that is really, really apparent for unsexy brands, particularly now where there are certain industries with lower barriers to entry, and that means that more competitors can flood the market and rival the big and established brands. However, with more competition, it just means that there's more data for you to get your hands on, and all of this data can be used to help you achieve fantastic success in your influence marketing campaigns and just generally in your marketing campaigns more broadly. So when it comes to how we launch campaigns, I've worked on a variety of sexy brands from Starbucks to Tango to Ford and so on. Most brands tend to operate in this very linear fashion. Product will have an idea for what they want to launch, or a CEO will have an idea for what he wants to create. They'll say launch a campaign, then they'll review the performance, then they'll use social listening to validate that the campaign messaging resonated with the target audience, and that would be the campaign all wrapped up and tied up in a nice, neat little bow. On the flip side, you can do the opposite. You can use social listening at the beginning of your journey to make sure that you have a clear understanding of what your audience wants to hear, what they struggle with, and what their key pain points are. You can review the performance from key opinion leaders and key brands in that space and use all of that data to then launch your campaign. And ultimately, by doing the inverse, what you're able to do is achieve a far more effective campaign that really hits home on the points that your target audience really care about, and that will give you the edge versus a sexy brand. So in this scenario, we are a skincare brand that wants to launch a retinol product. They know they want to launch it, there are lots of reasons to launch it, but they're not too sure what messaging will resonate most with their target audience. So the first thing that you want to do is do social listening. Just by searching the word retinol, you can see a variety of different conversations happening around that particular product. You can filter by social platform, by keyword, sentiment, author, language, and location. And what we see here is a variety of clusters that are already starting to emerge around hyaluronic acid and purging and anti-aging. And this then becomes a starting point in the platform for what you're trying to launch with your campaign. You can then feed all of that data by exporting it into a CSV, into an AI tool, that will analyze all of the data and create a set of charts using Python. And what we have here is the, output of that work. So rather than having to go through all of those individual queries and rows in an Excel sheet, in about 30 seconds you have a chart like this that clearly highlights the key problems and breaks them down in terms of importance and frequency, and this can then become a platform for your messaging matrix. So messaging matrix isn't unique to my agency, it's a very common thing used across all industries. And this is a great way to really consolidate everything you're trying to achieve with your marketing campaign, whether it's influencer or otherwise. Got your big idea at the top, that's the overarching concept that you want to sort of put out into the world. You've got your key 4 phases of the marketing funnel. At each phase, you have a unique problem to reflect the individual's core concerns. Then you have a message at each individual point of that journey that really reflects the social listening and demonstrates where the customer is at that point in time. So at the awareness phase, when you're not really too sure what retinol is, the key focus will be anti-aging. At the conversion phase, it's around minimal irritation. You know what retinol is, you know it can purge. You want to have a product that doesn't have that irritation effect on your skin. So that gives you a really clear platform, a really clear structure to go to market with when it comes to launching your campaigns, and it will give you the edge over competitors in the market. Next problem is decision fatigue. Now this is something that plagues every business, but particularly unsexy brands purely because of the resource challenge. However, one of the biggest drains of time in influence marketing particularly is the shortlisting process. There are thousands of influencers out there. It's often really difficult to know who to choose. Even with data and analysis of creative, it can be really, really hard to know which influencer will be the best fit for your brand. So rather than using group meetings and team meetings and going back and forth with talent managers, you can quite simply just use AI to go through the shortlisting process and expedite that. So in this scenario, we are a fashion brand, a very small fashion brand. We want to launch a influencer campaign, and the total budget is £4,000. So anyone who works in influencer marketing will know that that's a very modest budget. You don't really get a lot for that. However, that's what they want to do, and that's what they want to go ahead with. For better or for worse, your boss is a Love Island fan, and he wants you to work with an ex-contestant. He's a huge fan of the show, and he wants one of those contestants to be his next partner or collaborator. So using data, we can see that 4 Islanders have posted ads on TikTok for a rival brand. We've got Mimi, Nicole, Harriet, and Matilda. All of them have a very similar follower level. However, if you look at their engagement rates, there's a really clear difference between, say, Mimi and Nicole and Harriet. So if you were to partner with any of these influencers, which one would you choose? Mimi? Yeah. Mimi is the obvious choice based on the information that you have in that moment in time. 270k followers, 40% engagement rate. Obviously the obvious choice from that list of 4 influencers. However, you can take it one step further and actually analyze how they're more likely to perform for your brand with more data and more analysis. So using Talk Backup, you can export the video performance for the last 30 days for that individual influencer, remove all of the non-ad TikTok videos because everybody knows that ad content underperforms versus organic content, analyze the average views for each influencer, then analyze the average total engagements for each influencer. And just by going that one step further, you get a different picture of the results. So whereas initially Mimi was our top performer based on followers and engagement rate, we now see that the views that Mimi could generate are far less than Nicole, Harriet, and Matilda, and the total volume of engagements is also far less, which means that we now have a different problem on our hands of, is Mimi the best person to invest in, or should we work with a different influencer? At face value, it looks like you get the best bang for your buck with Matilda. So based on what we know now, who would we want to work with? So yeah, Matilda is now the obvious choice for this particular campaign, and she would be a great ambassador to work with based on what the data and AI is showing us. When it comes to pricing, we know this is a very contentious issue in influencer marketing. Every agency, every consultant, every brand does it differently. But if we assume that this brand wants to stick to a £15 CPM for standardization, we'd be paying Mimi about 900 quid, Nicole 2.1k, Harriet 2k, and Matilda 2.7k. With this in mind, for our 4k budget, Nicole and Harriet fit into our budget, which is fantastic. However, their popularity might decline once a new season begins. Everybody knows that Love Island is an annual program, often twice a year. And what we see from the data is that their engagement and their views decline with every year that comes out. So to predict the impact, we want to use linear regression, and this can essentially allow us to look at the decrease over time and then reflect that in the payments over time. And the reason why this is important is because if you're a marketer planning a campaign in January for a summer launch, you want to make sure that you're not overpaying for an influencer who may not achieve the best results possible. So that means that for our £4,000 budget, whereas initially they're looking to only work with Mimi or Nicole or Harriet or Matilda, we can now work with all 3 influencers if they agree to that fee and achieve even better results for our brand. This is just a really quick way to demonstrate how you can use data and AI to really improve your efficiency and ultimately eliminate decision fatigue and make your boss very happy because he gets 3 influencers for the price of 1. Right, on to the final scenario. This is all around limited resource. We know that resources are limited, whether it be physical, whether it be subscriptions, whether it be tools. So we want to make sure that we're using our time in the most effective and efficient way possible. One of the best ways to do that is to get really efficient with how we spend our time. Creating influencer briefs is the biggest drain of my life at times. It's super time consuming, it's super lengthy. You have to really analyze the influencer and their content and look at the brand and the messaging matrix. However, you can expedite this process by using data and AI. So in this final scenario, we are a car insurance company and we want to raise awareness amongst 18-24s. The key USP for this startup is 100% phone-free customer service because Gen Z hates speaking on the phone. We can be really, really detailed in our prompts using Jasper here to create a really clear set of instructions for Jasper to follow. We've got the platform outlined on the far left, we've got demographic, and then we have the key KPI. The key focus for this is raising awareness amongst 18 to 24s on Instagram, and these are really, really important because the more clarity you can provide, the better. And in a matter of minutes, you'll essentially have a detailed brief ready written for you. I haven't altered this, this is straight out of Jasper. And immediately there's a campaign objective, a target audience, key messaging, and also content ideas. The great thing about these content ideas is that they are actually okay ideas. They're not the best ideas in the world, they're not groundbreaking ideas. But if you're a new influencer marketer or you're new to working in this type of space, it's a great way to get started. But let's say you don't like these ideas, they're not good enough, they're not cool enough, they're not experimental enough. You can then follow up with an additional prompt and get Jasper to make the ideas more suitable for Gen Z. Things like POV content, pick your fighter, things I'd rather do than wait on hold are a bit more relevant to the Gen Z audience. Are they the best ideas? No, but it gets you much closer to what best practice looks like. And ultimately using these ideas, you can then work with your influencers and get them to use these ideas as inspiration, and that will allow you to ultimately get a better end result when you work with them. So these ways of working can streamline your processes, save you lots of time, and get you closer to a better end result. So in the last 15 minutes, we've gone through 3 scenarios that will massively help you reduce competition, eliminate decision fatigue, and also help you overcome limited resources. And all of these things mean you can spend more time focusing on things that AI can't do, like building community and generating goodwill, and also increasing brand awareness, which is something that takes time to do, consistent investment, and lots of considered and thought-provoking ideas and conversations internally and externally with other stakeholders. So that means that for now, our jobs are very much safe. You have nothing to worry about. But if you'd like to find out more about how data and AI can really help drive your influence marketing forwards, social media forwards, you can scan this QR code, connect with me on LinkedIn, book a call, or chat to me at some point today, as I'll be floating around Brighton for the next 24 hours. Thank you.